Hey guys, welcome back to Motorcycle Maintenance Channel. On this episode, we're going to show you how to install Vortex rear sets on this R6 motorcycle. We're also going to include the brake light switch, so stay tuned. Alright guys, the first thing we're going to do is unbolt these two bolts here. And it's going to be a 6 millimeter Allen key. Alright, and just like that, the rear peg is off. Okay. Now, we're going to attach this bracket on. Alright. And just like this, we'll put the bracket on. Do that finger tight to begin with. Next, we'll install this little bracket here. Right here. This allows it to kind of adjust if you want the peg down, or if you want it further back, or if you want them raised up high. Okay, so we're going to do it on the rearmost allowable hole slot this way. Then we'll take the washer, we'll put him on the back side of it, and we'll do it about like that. That gives us the further back and furthest down the peg can go. Kind of set for comfort, perfect for street riding. Then we'll just tighten this guy. It's actually a 13 millimeter nut on the back and a 4 millimeter Allen key on the front. There we go. That's tightened on there. We'll put our peg where it needs to go, and it has these two little slots in it, so you want to line up the slots, the back end of the peg there, like that. Before we go to tightening it, let's see what that is. Looks like it's pretty big actually. No, it's a 6. So and actually before we tighten that, is the only time you really change these is when you crash the bike. We'll put a little Loctite on it. Okay, so on there good, and I'll put the cap back on. There we go. It looks about to be how we want it. Put these guys on. Before we do that, since that's how we want it, we're going to go ahead and back these out that we did hand tight, just one at a time, and add a little Loctite to each one. We just kind of put them on there to tack it up there, and it's nice to have the flexibility of it to go back and forth so that we can get behind it and do the things that we have to do behind the peg. And when we know where we want it, now we can securely fasten it. Back out the other one, a little Loctite as well, because these parts vibrate a lot. And we'll put it back in. Alright, so all that's good and tight. Now our little heel guard protector, a little dab of Loctite. one's a 4mm. And the shift lever is done. So it looks like we have this in the 4th position. So when we do the one on the other side, we'll make sure that we keep that in the number 4 position as well. Okay, now to undo the shift lever, go back to our 6mm Allen key. Oh, that one's on tight. And break it free. And you can tell there is Loctite used here, which we'll also use Loctite there. And then we'll have to undo this piece here to loosen it from there. Might be a 12. It is a 12. And just kind of spin it off of there. Hold it up tight with a 10 on the top. It doesn't move on us. Well, it looks like we're going the wrong way with it. It's kind of hard to tell which way to go with these because one of them's reverse threaded on one side, and it's just the nature of how this works to adjust it up and down. So so now that's off. Instructions say to use the stock bolt, so we'll use the stock bolt here. Yeah, we'll have to adjust this later. So I'll put it about, like that. We'll adjust it to the rider's liking afterwards. Also have a little adjustment play in here to do. I think the further back would be better. And so you can adjust this too if you want it lower here, higher here, further back here. I'm going to guess based on our where we put this guy, about this angle here. And then we can always adjust it afterwards. But we'll set it right there for right now. Alright. So we got that in there. So this is a bearing that goes through here, which means we're going to cap off the other side of it with the provided washer from Vortex. And they also provided us this thing. So Use that. And I bet you they want us to use a little grease on. Yep, a little grease. So we'll grease it before we stick it in that bearing. Kind of hit it with some grease. A little dab will do ya. Might have to give it a little love tap. Get my ball peen hammer. I'll tap it in there a little bit. Alright guys, we're back with the mallet. And we're just going to give it light taps to get it to go through here. There it goes. Alright, and then we'll use the force of sucking it through with the screw to get it to go the rest of the way. Again, don't forget to use your washer on the back that they provided you with. Line up that hole, and first we'll use our fingers so that we don't cross thread. Looks like it's a 15. Before you go putting this on, just put a little bit of a Loctite right there. These actually fall off a lot. I've had them fall off on my bike, and I've seen them fall off at other people's bikes at the track. So definitely want Loctite's definitely the key there. Oops. So a little Loctite, and then your crush washer there on the back to seal off the bearing. And now we'll tighten it. Okay, it's not really a hex nut. There's a special nut that goes on there, but you can use a 15 millimeter. That's what we used. All right, so now it's on there, and we're done with this side. We'll move to the next side. The only thing left to do from here is to adjust it to the rider's liking. But right now I think we got it kind of where we want it. But fine-tune adjustments can be done later by loosening this bolt and pivoting this around, and loosening the rear bolt here and pivoting that around. And because those get pivoted and moved around, we don't use Loctite there because they're meant to be adjusted to take it to be undone and done a few different times. The rest of them are fixed bolts that you're only going to take out when you wreck the bike. Alright, so before we go taking things apart over here, we're going to start kind of assembling the back end of this. Here you can see that this will be the bracket. Vortex likes to stick these screws in backwards, but they go the other way. And I know why they do that, because they want to protect this surface when they ship it. But you'll ignore that for a second. This is going to go here, like so. And your pegs will come in this way. This goes on the back end, and it holds your brake lever into place. So what we're going to do is work on that, because as you can see, if we assemble this and put this on there, it's going to be really hard to get to this whole section. So we're just going to do that off the bike. So I'm just going to put this where it goes, like this. And you know, it's machined nicely, so you know that it goes like that. And start putting it in. Doesn't mention any Loctite going on the screw, but I'm going to put a little bit on there anyway, because like I said, it's really hard to get to if it does come off. Just gonna put a little dab on there. It's not red Loctite, it's blue Loctite, so not gonna hurt anything. Just kind of go in with our fingers. And tighten it. It's a number 6 here on the bottom. There we go. Good and tight. We'll take this here on the back. And another thing, the Vortex wants to write us, but it seems like there should be another washer like this that comes with it, because it shows it on its diagram here. However, I don't see it unless it's like hidden in this thing, but I don't think so. So what we're going to do is use the washer from the shift side if we can. Looks like we might not be able to use that either. Yep, so we might just have to go without that washer. We'll put this here, and maybe Vortex will write back and be like, "You're a dummy. The washer's already in there." So we'd love to hear from you, Vortex. So that just kind of goes on the back end of that bracket we just attached like this, and it's what your brake pedal pivots off of. And they did supply a washer for this side, so we'll put the washer there. And a little Loctite on the back. However, it said not to, so we're going by the instructions here. Don't put Loctite on the back. I'm going to do it because for whatever reason this rattles out. It's going to be really hard to get to. And it's a number 5. There we go. Don't want to murder it with strength. There's all our screws. It's all right, I know where they go. All right. Looks like from the factory this peg came on here pretty good. So this gets adjusted just like the one before. You know, if you have a big foot, probably want it like this. Smaller foot, you're probably going to want to go in the back hole. We'll put it like this for right now, and this screw is meant to come in and out, so we don't like it like that. You know, we can make the peg lower, higher, bring it further back, bring it further forward. I think it kind of looks cool like that because it blocks up everything and comes neat, but it's really about comfort. These things are more about comfort than looks, so we're going to leave it like that for now. And we got our little back piece there assembled. Now we'll go to dismantling our stock foot pegs. So I'll go with these number 6s here. Take those off. And when I say number 6, I mean 6mm. Allen key. Alright, so there's going to be a lot more to this one than the other one, but for the most part it's off, right? We'll take off our master cylinder here. Actually, I'm going to put this back just to hold it in place while I loosen up the bolts for the master cylinder. Looks like a number 4, nope. Number 5. Alright. So, loosen up our bolts for the master cylinder. They weren't on there with a whole lot of torque. Okay. Master cylinder bolts are off. Seems to be a little nut here holding this little bracket on, so I'm going to disassemble that as well. And it's an 8. It is an 8. All right. Okay. And then we'll take out the top one. All right, now you got a little bit more movement here. Just connect this spring back here. This goes to this is the factory brake light switch. This tells the bike when you're pushing the brakes to hit the brake lights for you. We won't be using that anymore because there's nowhere to connect it on the new system. But Vortex will sell you separately a brake light switch. I think they should include it, but you know, whatevs. Maybe you're just using it for the track and you don't need it. But if you're using these on the street, you're going to want to get the brake light switch. We'll take out our factory switch some kind of way. Looks like there's a plastic nut there, maybe a 16 or so. 17? 17 it is. Looks like there's a bracket here. You know what? I'm not gonna mess with that. I'm gonna take out this bracket here that holds it all into place. If I can. It's in a really weird spot. It's a 4. All right. So, righty tighty, lefty loosey. And as you can see, this foot peg over here already kind of snapped off, and they're kind of difficult to replace on your factory set, but Vortex makes it easy to replace the foot pegs when they get snapped off or broken or scraped. And they do that, you know, for race reasons. Like you race it and you have some extra pegs laying around, you just come back in to the pits, change out your pegs, and get back out there if you're not all beat up. Oh, who am I kidding? You're going to be beat up, but you know, within reason. All right, and right here with this thing, probably just going to snip this off and wrap it up and zip tie it over there with these other cables that we have zip tied up. These go to the butterfly valve, the servo motor, if you will. That's a different discussion, getting off topic. But yeah, that's what we'll do with this. We'll just cut it, put it back over there. In case we ever want to reinstall these, then you can just electrical tape them back together. Alright, so now we need to take this guy off. What we're going to do here, it's hard to see, there's a cotter pin back here that we're going to have to straighten this out, and then we can pull the pin and then the master cylinder will come off. So get my little pick and we'll start doing that. Cotter pins out, push that in, see my washer, pull that out, come on, what are you doing now? Got got one more over there. Look at that. It's number 4. Get my T on it. There we go. And she's off. Just like that. Not too hard, right? Now you get your master cylinder free, and we got our brake lines free. We'll get some wire cutters and we'll cut that off. While we have everything disassembled, we're going to install our brake light switch from Vortex. It's a banjo bolt. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this banjo bolt out, and we're going to put this one in its place. And we're going to reuse, and we're going to not reuse, we're going to use the new crush washers supplied to us by Vortex. You know, right there, just like that. Now when you do this, you want to do it fairly quickly. You don't want to lose any brake fluid, because if you do, you're going to get air in the system, and then you're going to want to bleed your brakes again. I've done this a couple of times now, where I simply just put this back in and no air got in the system. So you can do it that way. They're always going to tell you to bleed your brake system if you do this, which we can. We just need to get some brake fluid. It's the rear brake. I personally don't find it as important, but you know, that's me. So we're going to do this quick. We're going to do it fast. So we'll get this washer ready to go. Put him on there. And we'll have our other washer there ready. 14. Okay. So he's ready to take its place super quick. Got our number 6 up here. And we'll break it loose. Hopefully drama free. Alright, got it. Okay. Again, I want this to happen relatively fast. Make sure we know where everything is. I'm just kind of holding it in place right now. Okay. Got rid of the old one, put the new one in place. Using just a slight bit of brake fluid there. Drop it, put it in there. There we go. Hardly any brake fluid at all. Hardly any. Now for good measure, you might want to bleed your brakes. Like I said, I've done it before without bleeding the brakes. It's completely on you. What you could also do if you're worried about that little bitty air bubble that's in there is hold your brake down with a bungee cord overnight and let the air bubble drain out naturally. Kind of how you do with your front brakes, if you're ever familiar with that technique. Voila! I mean, that's like less than a milliliter of brake fluid that just came out of there. So I think we did that pretty darn good. And I'll come back and, you know, put some Thor strength on it here in a second. I guess I can do that right now. The old channel locks. And there we go. That's good. All right. Now We got our new brake pressure switch on there, so let's cut off the old one. So come back here, cut it here. You want to cut it a little bit longer, or you cut it shorter. I like to cut long. You can always go shorter, right? There it is. We don't need him anymore. And then we'll cut this guy back. Get a razor blade real quick from over here. Okay. And then we'll strip our wires. There we go. Wires are stripped. Now the little electrical connectors are these things. I forget from my time in the shop, not an automotive shop, mind you, but a van rebuild, a van modification shop, what those are called. But they go into a connector similar to this right here, which is pretty generic, and they kind of go like that, you know, on each one. So go like that. Oh, look at that, perfect little fit. And we'll go here on this side and do here. I'm sure my old boss would be like, how do you not remember what that's called? But not what I do every day. All right, so we'll do the brown wire to the brown wire and the yellow wire to the yellow and green wire. And yes, my hands are dirty, because on this channel we really do work on motorcycles. And then we'll crimp. And I'm going to go for the double crimp. There we go. Like a solid connection to me, but to be safe we'll go back over it with a little electrical tape just to waterproof it. And I say waterproof liberally, because again, waterproofing in the van world is a big pain in the ass. We're not going to do that. Alright, now we'll do our other connection. And right about now we'll be playing some cool background music, right? Maybe. It's subjective. Come here with it. There we go. Single crimp on this guy. Yes. Did it right? You know, and no judgment, man. If you see someone's bike and it doesn't look this neat, you know, don't shame them for it. They might not do this every day. They just want to put rear sets on their bikes. But if yours looks neater than mine, go ahead and shame me. I can take it. In the van world, to waterproof it the way they do it, they use so much electrical tape. They go over it 3 or 4 times, over and over again. It's real tedious. Then your supervisor will come look at it and be like, "Nope, that's not right. Redo it," and it's something else. But for all intents and purposes, that's how it's done. And we will zip tie this nice and neat here. Yeah, we can do that now actually, because it'll be hard to get to it once everything's on there. Got my zip ties over there. There we go. And maybe one more up top. Beautiful. We're going to go ahead and connect the back part of this just because we just have more room to play with it and stuff. So this back little hill, this back loop is going to go right here. This moves your master cylinder up and down. We're going to leave it in its stock position right here. If for whatever reason it's not braking enough or braking too much or whatever, then we'll have to adjust this with a, looks like a 12 millimeter, but we're going to leave it as is right now. And remember, the whole point of the rear sets is adjustability. Everything gets adjusted. Everything gets adjusted to your liking. If you liked it stock, you wouldn't have bought these rear sets. So put this guy in there. This is the stock, the factory pin that came with the bike. Go. This is the factory washer that came off the bike. We're going to put him on the back side. Okay. Now you should use a new cotter pin. I've reused my cotter pins before. I think that last cotter pin we had though, we kind of mangled. So I'm going to actually use safety wire. I do have a box of new cotter pins somewhere in my garage. Just don't know where. But I've held bearings on with safety wire. So I'm just going to take our safety wire, put it through here like so. Now, the downside to this, to using safety wire, is if sometime down the road you want to replace your factory rear sets or your Vortex rear sets or whatever, or you have an off, it's going to be kind of a pain in the ass to take it off, unlike the cotter pin. I mean, Cotter pin's already kind of difficult to take off, but safety wire is not going to be it's not going to be easier. I mean, you can still do it, you just, you know, have to get in there. Remember, pick up your safety wire, causes flat tires. And what we're going to do is we're going to do it twice. But ideally, we would know where our cotter pin box is, and we would use cotter pins. But this can be done as well. I'm double safety wiring it. Might be overkill, but I mean, it is what helps you stop the bike, right? And it'll be doubly hard to take off, but it's not like it can't be done. It's just safety wire. Alright, so now that's on there. Now, back to what I was saying. Now we got to put in these screws. So now we're going to attach the master cylinder to the Vortex. I'm going to attach the master cylinder to the Vortex rear set using the supplied Vortex screws, which will just barely fit in there. And we put a little Loctite on them. So it's kind of, to me, the hardest part of the deal so far. Not even close. There we go. It's going in. And I already put a little glob of Loctite on it. Okay. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down on the first go. I'm going to wait till we got both of the... There's Loctite in there, believe me. I'm going to wait till we get them both seated, and then I'll tighten them. Okay. There you go. Now, typically I would recommend, first threading through a screw without a tool, with just your hands. But since these were threaded before from the other side, you might want to use a tool. I mean, don't cross thread, but don't force anything. But also, I mean, it might not go in just as easy as you think it's going to go in. All right, so that's on there. Like I said, we're going to come back and tighten it once we get this positioned. Put a little Loctite here. Attach it hand tight. And a little Loctite on this one. That's close. There we go. These you do kind of want to put a little bit of strength behind. There we go. All right. Now we can come back and hit these guys again, just because now we have it. We can put some strength behind it because it's securely fastened. All right, moving right along. We're gonna, so we got this in the number 4 position, just like the one on the other side. And we're gonna put a little bit of Loctite on the back of the screw, back here. Right there, just like so. And it might slip out, but we can do it again. We'll just tighten it in. Remember, this can be adjusted later if you don't like it there. Take it out. Probably didn't have to put Loctite exactly there, but you take it out and then you can adjust it down. It actually, just by looking at this, it doesn't look like we can really adjust it down anymore. We can go higher or we can come forward with it. We can't really go down because of where our slip-on is. Any more than that anyway. There we go. And it's on. Now we'll go to the peg. And we'll put our bolt in here. This one definitely want Loctite on. So we'll put a little Loctite on the bolt. Alright, so go right there. Again, normally I'd say use your hands, but given the position of the bolt, you can't really do that. So you just want to gently guide it in the hole and tighten it. There we go. Oh, it's actually pretty snug. I mean, it's supposed to be, right? So I'll cap it off right here. Next, so there's this bracket, right? It goes here. And what this bracket's for is if you still have your stock exhaust, you use this bracket to hold up the exhaust. And you would use the old factory grommet in that thing there, and then fasten your exhaust and use some other factory parts. Obviously, we don't have our factory exhaust on here. We have our M4 slip-on, so there's really no need for this. So we're going to leave it off. But if you did, you know, that goes there, and that's just 2 bolts. Pretty self-explanatory. And then we have this, our heel guard, and it also looks fancy. So we're going to put this on. A little Loctite on each bolt. All right, and it's on there. Now we got to test out our brake switch and all that. And our brake, give it a few pumps too to get any air bubbles out of it. Vortex says no return spring is needed. I feel like it could benefit from one, but I've tried it before and it's just best to do what Vortex says. Alright guys, that's how you put Vortex adjustable rear sets on your R6 motorcycle. Thanks for watching.